Alrighty, everyone. We are firing up the live stream. Should be live about now. Go ahead and give everyone just a moment to join in if we're tuning in live here. For those of you who are joining in later on, glad to have you here for this video. We're going to be focusing on cryptocurrency markets, doing a little bit of a holiday special, as even though it's supposed to be the holidays where things are supposed to be calm, Bitcoin is breaking to new all-time highs. What do you know? Anyways, guys, I just want to say that it's a really exciting time. You know, even as someone like myself who, to be completely honest with you guys, I've been mainly positioned in alts. I've been kind of championing that, and it definitely hasn't been the winning position. I still have to say, for the Bitcoin that I own, for those of you out there who have been diligent on Bitcoin, as being kind of the number one play in the market, no matter what, right? Bitcoin breaking to these new highs in the way that it has is unprecedented. And I want to spend some time to kind of dive into a really unique thought process that might challenge what most people are focusing on, which is the stock to flow model, a lot of the data science models, many of which we've talked about over the last 2 years here on the channel. So I can already see some people are coming into the chat here. Happy to have you guys here. I appreciate it. We will dive into some questions here in a bit, but I'm seeing a lot of comments on, all-time highs, everyone getting really eager and excited about what's going on at Bitcoin. And if you guys as well think the music's too loud, let me know. I can turn it down. If you can't hear it, I can turn it up a bit. But anyways, the artist that I'm playing is an individual. His name is Matthews in this case, but his YouTube channel and his artist name is Sleeping Pandora. Love him as an artist. He's this really awesome guitarist that just knows how to make really calm, relaxing music. And I thought it'd be good for the live stream to kind of build the mood. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the substance, guys. First off, I want to dive straight into Bitcoin's chart here. I usually don't like to look at these shorter term time frames, but it's pretty relevant because over the last couple of hours, we've climbed up, and we were actually officially up $1,000 just in a matter of 3 hours. And this is a really incredible thing to think about, guys, when you're taking a look at Bitcoin's price and you're talking about with friends and family. The important thing to keep in mind is especially that narrative that, $1,000 moves are going to become the norm here for Bitcoin. This is something that I think a lot of people didn't per se realize when we were charting up towards 15 to 20K because it was so short-lived. It felt like mania. This is not really the kind of mania we saw back in December 2017. It's a much lower degree of it, and it's institutional mania and FOMO. So what we're seeing here is, again, a very standard move. If we take a look, for example, we take to the 4 hour, right? This move, or this candle here, which made up the vast majority of this gain of $1,000, really actually material price move a little bit under 800, only 3%. And then following that 0.38%. And you can see this, if you take a look at the kind of mid top left portion, you can see that percentage mark that I have after I write along the candles here. That's how you can read the percentage moves of individual candles that you're analyzing on TradingView. And you can do the same here, taking a look at the daily. We're up 4% for the day. 4% the previous day, and we'd had this sideways consolidation for some time. But we've seen these kind of things before, and if we just take a look back at 2019, we can see a very similar picture of a lot of these kind of sideways movements where we don't get a stark correction in the market. Let's just go ahead, take a step back in history, and take a look here back at 2019 when we came out of rock bottom of the bear market. We started setting in higher lows. We had been, kind of pressing up against this $4,000 range multiple times. And we finally got the volume pop, the market got excited, and after that we really didn't start to see any major consolidation, and when we did, people came in to buy it, and then eventually we just continued pushing sideways until we went absolutely parabolic again. And the interesting thing that I'm going to continue to play into is that this overall cycle, I consider this and all of this, right, what we're living through right now, as the same cycle. We've entered the absolute trough here, the bottom of the market, and now we're working towards our next peak in the market. That's why I look at the expanding cycles, which tend to get longer in time frame and scale as the markets are getting larger. But what's really interesting about this cycle is, even though I'm still holding, I'm gun-ho on my idea that we are going to have to wait until sometime around November of 2022 in order to actually see the all-time peak, and that's not me being bearish. I have a price target of 100K to 200K. Those 2 points are very critical to understanding this cycle, because it's not only critical to understand that this is probably going to take a little bit longer than what people think, as we've seen from previous cycles. We add about 11 to 13 months to each new cycle on average, so I put it at 12 months to be even. And the other important thing to mention here that's very critical is that just like back in 2019 where we overextended ourselves, in fact, if you guys want to see the math here, go ahead and draw from bottom to top here, right? Bottom to top, we came down here from the December 15th all the way up here towards the peak, a nearly 350% rally within less than 200 trading days. Now, what you'll notice again here as well is that we're doing the same kind of overextension here as we're expanding and breaking past the previous all-time highs. These two breakouts are completely deviated from the last cycle. We didn't have this initial crazy rebound out of the lows at $180 to $200 in the previous cycle back here, right? We did have a spike here, but it's actually nowhere near the magnitude of what we had back then. If you want to take the percentage, for example, we're talking about 150% move. And that was in a much smaller market. Taking a look again at the grander cycle here as well, nowhere near the amount that we've gained, going from, again, 200 here towards around 1200, right? It's multiplier 6 here. Going out of the lows here, we've not only clobbered against those all-time highs, which was already a very similar range, but now we're continuing to climb, completely deviating from what we saw last time where we had some resistance, we consolidated for a while, and then we started the next cycle. So I know I rambled on. Let's just go ahead and I'll try to piece these pieces together because we're doing it live. Basically, the critical point here is that this cycle seems to be very, very emotional. We have massive peaks in this case, where, for example, we almost looked like we were going to exit the bear market here within a matter of a year coming out of the lows here in 2019. But of course, we had a severe correction going pretty much right back down near the lows of the bear market and then climbing up much higher here. Volatility is actually expanding, which is pretty insane. As volatility tends to decline when you go through larger market expansions. As the market grows larger, it gets more stable. You see less, 5-10% moves, but now that's becoming very normal for Bitcoin. I want to go ahead and kind of summarize my thoughts here. There's a guy I follow on Twitter, and I recommend you guys should follow him. I always love recommending good people in this space, and that's Eric Wall here. Actually has it here on the right-hand side, and also Rob Paul. Rob Paul's a good guy. But Eric put out a really good tweet that I agree with, and it was a tweet that summarized some of the text that he had wrote in a pretty big blog post for his Arcane Research, which is the company he runs. So I want to go ahead and read this out to you guys because it brings up a very critical point. I'll give the quick summary. It's the idea that we shouldn't be using just mainly data science models to focus on a one-year time frame for cryptocurrencies, but we should really be looking at an even longer term time frame. You guys know that's my jazz. I like looking at the longer term time frames with markets. And second off, using what for many people, for example, the Winklevoss twins and Guggenheim, a large financial institution, have utilized in order to predict Bitcoin's long-term value potential, which is looking at other comparable markets, and that's things like gold, as well as traditional currency markets. So let's go ahead and read through this. So Eric focuses on where are we going anyway, right? Just trying to be he's very humble. This is one thing I love about Eric's style. Giving an exact price call for a new bull cycle is, in my opinion, rather baseless guesswork. The peak will entirely depend on just how intense the hysteria gets at its climax. It's more of akin to trying to guess how viral a meme will go. Even if you think it's the best meme you've ever seen, there's no way you can reliably tell if it will really reach 500 million or 250 million people. And there's really no way to tell if Bitcoin will reach 50,000 or 250,000 either. And this is, again, why I kind of put my range of like 100K to 200K. Having some kind of number one figure that you rely on is not really good. And even my range estimation, as Eric points out here, no one really knows how crazy this is going to get and at what time frame. And people have different definitions of like what a cycle is. So what I talked about earlier of like talking about the absolute bottom to the absolute peak, that's my definition of a cycle. Even the recovery back to the all-time highs is a part of that cycle, in my opinion. Some people consider when you break above the all-time highs, in this case, to the new all-time highs, or down to the bear market. I don't know. Everyone's going to have different definitions here. But again, trying to guess what this is going to go in a year, it's going to be very, very difficult. It's like throwing picking a needle in a haystack in this case. Of course, that doesn't mean you can't apply fundamental analysis, although with limited precision and no clear time frame. Using gold as a framework to value Bitcoin is probably the most common methodology around. That's where the Winklevi, in this case the Winklevoss twins, get their case for 500k Bitcoin and from Guggenheim's 400k prediction, as do many others. The calculation just divides the value of all gold in the world with the Bitcoin supply. These aren't exactly next year predictions though, and they could very well take up to 5 to 10 more years to play out. While I found myself wanting to nitpick those projections, since they essentially batch all forms of gold, jewelry, investments, so basically all the use cases of gold, into a single bucket and should probably be adjusted somewhat downward, I'm inclined to agree with this method at a conceptual level. And I'd actually not so much challenge Eric on this, but I would say that, like, you know, all these things, jewelry, investment gold, central bank reserves, the only one in this that's excluded is electronics, which is about less than 5 to 10% of gold's use case on an annual basis. The vast majority of gold is about preserving wealth, these three use cases here. Between private funds, private investors, central banks, and people who conserve wealth through the form of jewelry, right? It's just a way of status and showing it off. But at the same time, as it's an optimistic projection, it's also quite conservative. Gold today is a remnant of something that used to be the basis for money, but has since then largely fallen out of grace with society. According to a 2019 survey, only 12% of Americans hold some form of gold. Most people do not own gold for that case, and most people prefer stocks or real estate to preserve their wealth. Gold is a niche asset. I'm reluctant to accept this idea if Bitcoin over time reaches a similar asset size to gold, and if people learn to get comfortable with it, it merely stay as that of a niche store of value alternative. Bitcoin is an internet commodity. It was meant to be transferred over the internet. The reason why gold is such a failure, yes, a failure in my view, is because there's no easy way to transact with it. While attempts to recurrencify gold, things like e-gold, there's a few companies now that have made, and I know Peter Schiff's been a big proponent of this, like gold debit cards. The problem is that they only process around $2 billion per year in payments at their peak. That's the best that we've ever seen these kind of companies like eGold reach to. Bitcoin has done this same amount of volume 10 times in a single day this week. So again, Bitcoin itself created less than, or pretty much around 10 years ago in this case, well, technically 11 years, is now starting to reach into the spotlight a little bit, and people are starting to figure out what it is. The vast majority of people still don't understand it, don't understand the data science models, don't understand all the things that we know about in the crypto space. What Eric's saying here is not only that using something like gold is probably a much better estimate to try to guess where this could go, when we're talking about a value perspective or valuation perspective on market cap. But along with that as well, he makes an even more bullish case than really I think a lot of the bulls. And the crazy thing is that I actually think it's incredibly rational, because it's a very long-term perspective. It's not saying we're going to get towards 100K or 200K tomorrow, but we're going to get towards a much higher target over a 5-10 year time frame, depending on the hysteria, macro events, all the things that actually shape an asset's price like Bitcoin. And the point that he brings up is actually tapping towards two different types of markets. And that's global narrow money, around $40 trillion. And along with that as well, focusing on other types of markets across the world, from equities, real estate. He also hits as well on the global broader money in this case, which is around $90 to $100 trillion. Basically, Eric makes the case in this case that savings, whether that's savings accounts, CDs, maybe even safe haven assets like treasuries that we've talked about on this channel that are going into negative interest rate or negative yielding territory, as there are negative interest rates from central banks. All of these things are going to start to basically leave financial experts and money managers to ask the question, where do I park my wealth? Where do I park my clients' wealth? These certain vehicles suck. Savings accounts suck. Every year, you are getting wealth drained from you in a savings account. You don't even earn enough interest to combat the inflation of your money. And now these interest rates might go down to rock bottom zero, as they're already sitting near 0.06% on average in the United States. Treasuries are very likely to go negative. They already went down to zero in their yield back in March. Other global government bonds, the German bond, all types of different ones, the Japanese bonds, all of these are now entering into negative territory. Many of them have been in negative territory for a while. And if you factor in inflation and your negative yields, these assets are really starting to get penalizing on tens, if not hundreds of trillions of dollars of wealth. And CDs, don't even get me started. You're locking up your money for a year to 5 years. And what, you get maybe a fraction of a percentage? 1 to 2%? While banks walk away with 20, 25% profit margins with your capital lending it out. I mean, no money manager, no person who's on edge about actually getting some form of yield and outperforming the general market or inflation is going to settle for this. And this is why, again, even though Eric doesn't give any per se price prediction, he brings up a great point here, and that's focusing on the scale of how large cryptocurrencies are versus other markets. Now, this chart is a bit outdated. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies would be a bit bigger here. But this was back in May of 2020, and it shows you, just to a degree, how small cryptocurrencies are comparative towards other markets in the world. Here's gold, for example, right? Take a look at stock markets, right? Equities now, global equities have gone over $100 trillion. We just broke it back, I think, about 2 weeks ago. Global equity market capitalization over $100 trillion. Here's the narrow money supply that Eric referred to. Now it's around $40 trillion with all the printing that's been going on. Global debt, households, governments, non-financial corporates, financial sector, global real estate, right? Global wealth as a whole, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, India, Africa, Latin America, China. And then if you break into derivatives markets, well, that's just a funny world of nonsense. So again, when you see Bitcoin breaking to these levels, guys, the whole thing I say overall is, look, I do agree. I think maybe in the short term, we're at risk for some form of pullback. We've really been going nonstop since here at 10,500. But do not doubt the reality that institutional liquidity will drag these crazy cycles on longer than we can expect. And they can be isolated on one specific asset. I'll take that, don't take it with a grain of salt, and I'll take that as a point of blame on myself. I put a really big emphasis on thinking that we would play out history here with the altcoin cycle, and it didn't happen. It really didn't happen at the same time frame we were expecting. Now, it doesn't mean I've been shifting my positions. I've always believed in the position of not getting caught 2 steps behind. But it probably means more than anything that in the broader cycle, as I'm going to be here for the broader cycle, I should probably be focusing a little bit more of my capital on Bitcoin and other assets, especially if we get an opportunity where it dips. So for that matter, again, always keep in mind, guys, that with these more parabolic cycles, this more kind of irrational, crazy market, especially once retail comes in, we're going to probably get much more stark rallies and stark pullbacks. That's the general lesson here. The data science models are not playing out like they used to. All right, we're not in a very small market where we can just absolutely overshoot them. We're not in this kind of slower market here where we delayed behind the stock to flow model. We're riding right where we should be on the stock to flow model. 2-year multiple, right? Or sorry, the 2-year MA multiplier. Almost coming up here very closely to retesting the red line. And the HODL wave is starting to break off. Again, having these kind of dips up and downward, something that we really didn't see the last 2 times around, where it was generally a straightforward move and a straight move downward. So, anyways, guys, thought I would provide some thought-provoking discussion there before we kicked off into the conversation. I know a lot of you have been leaving stuff in the chat. Let's see here. Sans left a donation. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Sans. Man, we got a lot of people. Leave messages here, guys. Sorry, I'll try to see if I can catch some. Thank you all for the nice comments as well about the live stream. Happy to have you guys. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so Ram brought up something about altcoin dominance here. This is actually one chart I didn't get to go through. So I have it up here for a reason in this case, because to be honest, as I mentioned earlier already, guys, this is obviously blown away any expectations. It's not that we're per se down on altcoins, but we're down very much compared to Bitcoin. I'm not going to lie about it. There's no reason to. I think the best thing you can do as an investor is be open towards your mistakes and learning from them. But the good news here is that, we still have probably one of the most critical support ranges here which is back here from May of 2017, here in September of 2019, here also in December of 2017 before we kicked off one of the most insane cycles for altcoins going into January of 2018. This is what we want to look for here, is to hold this and bounce off big time when that Bitcoin correction comes through, to see the liquidity isn't leaving per se Bitcoin markets, but that it's going into other alternative currencies. I think the obvious players that are going to kick off first are going to be the large caps, Ethereum, maybe even some of the DeFi plays like Link and Uni. All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think those are some of the plays that are going to really kick off first, because liquidity tends to cycle down or kind of trickle down into the other large cap assets, then the mid cap assets, then the small cap assets. Maybe there's a few outliers that really kick off and do way better that are actually smaller. Harry lifted a donation. Thank you, Harry. He said, "Hey, Nick, love the channel. Some recent thought about SEC going after Chainlink after they've already gone after Ripple. What are your thoughts?" Harry, I'm definitely no legal expert when it comes to speaking on these matters. I talked about XRP the other day. I think the problem with XRP comparative to other cryptocurrencies, and I've said this openly on the channel time and time again, is that XRP has a lot of things that it probably overstepped or violated in this case versus other cryptocurrency projects that built kind of fake hype around it. Again, I don't want to, again, speak too much on it. I know that XRP is a very opinionated topic overall, and again, we have to see what the SEC determines in this case, in their case. But overall, they had referenced a lot of things in relations to using market making and basically manipulating price to a degree in order to get people behind it after making large news events or announcements. Stuff like this went on in crypto a lot back in the day, and it still happens sometimes. And I'm not a big fan of it. I've spoken out against market manipulation. I did a video all the way back in 2018 detailing it, and how people can do wash trading and market making. Now, am I accusing Ripple of doing that? No, but I've heard things before, I'll say that. So I'll leave it at that in that case. I think that's why the SEC is targeting them. Now, if Chainlink has done something similar, other projects, which there's always a possible opportunity of, then yeah, I think that maybe the SEC might consider looking at it. But I think that in most of these cases, even for XRP, the one thing that I've seen so far is that most of them end up just settling with the SEC in some degree. But I don't know. We'll have to see. This could be uncharted territory. Thank you very much, Tommy. Tommy had left a question. I recently thought about moving a good majority of my crypto portfolio, and this perspective has given me an even stronger likelihood in doing this. I'm happy to hear, Tom. Whatever in that case you feel, I really appreciate the donation and also your thoughts. And, hopefully this has been thought-provoking to some degree. And we'll see what happens. I'm very, very interested to see where things go here in the next few months. Amar just posted like 2 dabbing emojis. Thank you, Doffman. I appreciate the donation. Also, Tom said moving it into Bitcoin. Forgot to put that in there. So he's going more into Bitcoin in this case. And again, you don't want to have too much of your eggs in one basket, and that was my problem here in this case with altcoins. But the same case here goes for Bitcoin. I think that in this market, generally speaking, we know long term that altcoins are probably, especially if you're considering markets of scale, will outpace Bitcoin. But you have to be in the right place. You have to be in places that fundamentally will gather more attention and excitement than Bitcoin. Not on a full scale, but as per market cap in this case. Let's see. Sand's got 100 Litecoin. Awesome, man. I know Litecoin's been outpacing the general market as a whole, even Bitcoin. Doffman said, "Is it a mistake or do we need to wait a lot while longer?" I'm assuming, Doffman, in this case, you're talking about like altcoins. No, I would say this is, again, you don't want to get yourself caught 2 steps behind. So, like, for example, we've got a nice bounce here back, about 0.5% just within the hour on altcoin dominance. Testing towards the same range we saw back here. We'll see what happens, I'm really not, like, panicking into this. I've averaged in, on our newsletter group and stuff, we send out notifications. I talk about, I'm even trying to get better about it as well, talking about, like, was the overall trade profitable? Was it a loss? Why I'm making this trade. Is it a long-term position, short-term? we sent out a few alerts the other night and stuff about adding positions into the portfolio. So that's again something that I've just been averaging into the market with fiat, because even if altcoins aren't leading the way right now, they're in a nice discount range for me personally. Right? They're not at overbought levels. They're not at relative highs. Right? They're down here towards a range of altcoin dominance that we haven't seen since back at the beginning of the year, January. To me, that's exciting. Ray says, it's crazy to see how far your channel's come in 5 years. Reliable info, much appreciated, Nick. Oh, Ray, I appreciate it, man. I know I think it's been technically about 3.5 years, but I mean, honestly, it feels like 5 years sometimes in crypto with how much goes on. But no, I mean, above all, guys, I really appreciate all the love and support you've shown. I know I haven't been doing probably as much videos or live streams during the holidays as I wanted to. I've really been trying to take this time to, well, I've tried to spend some of this time to kind of decommission a bit and just kind of take some time off. But the thing is, I've got a lot of things I'm balancing. I'm planning to move. I'm planning to get my altcoin video out for you guys. We're thinking about launching it directly on the 1st, in this case, at the start of the new year, to be in line with 2021. And I've also got a lot of things planned for Digifox's company and also the Dash report. So balancing about at least 4 or 5 things at any given time, lots of different plates, on sticks. So I'm trying to keep everything going. You got a message from Blockchain Talks. Hello, Blockchain Talks. Nice to see you. Ruben said, Nick, what are your thoughts on the price action of GBTC versus BTC? And I think this is a very fair point. I think, what's one interesting thing, and I can't remember how you type it properly. I'm assuming what you want to do is GBTC. I think you can do GBTC divided by BTC. Yeah. So I'm pretty certain this is the chart here. I'm not 100% certain. But what's really nice is that you can kind of get a ratio of the premium people are paying on GBTC over Bitcoin in this case. But sometimes there are massive premiums, and that can show you that there's a market shortage of GBTC shares. Overall, GBTC has been getting more and more popular as a product. You can see that volumes, even as price is going higher, this is a really good telltale sign that price is generally going up. And along with that as well, you've also got expanding volume, these candles down here showcasing increased interest. So even though this is, and I want people to realize this is not a Bitcoin ETF, right? It's very close to what an ETF would look like, but there's one big restriction, that it's over the counter. So there's a lot of brokerage platforms that may not provide full-scale OTC markets, or might limit you. Maybe, like, for example, Robinhood, I think, might have a protection in place. I don't know if maybe they're an exception. They might allow you to own GBTC. But the biggest restriction is that you have to be accredited. You have to be accredited. There's, I think, about a 2% maintenance fee every year for the fund in this case. So if you have to have a minimum net worth or income capacity to even participate in owning a Bitcoin paper product that's backed by real Bitcoin like GBTC, that's not an ETF. An ETF is going to be just like GBTC, but it's going to be open for everyone. And that's going to require SEC approval. Now, if that happens, right? And again, I'm in the same note as a lot of people who say, why do we need the SEC to tell you that? Oh, you really don't. You can go buy Bitcoin if you want on Coinbase. But it's the reality of the world and stuff when it comes to securities law and issuing exchange-traded funds. I don't like it. It's the world, though, right? Above all, I think what an ETF is going to be the ultimate catalyst for later in 2022. There was the lady who created the GLD ETF. She kind of headed up development for SPDR, Spider in this case, which is a big financial ETF manufacturer. In this case, they create a lot of different ETF products. She said back in 2017 that a Bitcoin ETF would take 5 years. A lot of people, including myself, were like, the demand's so high, it's there, and the market's developed. And it wasn't, to be fair, guys. When we look back on it, there's still a lot of questions about crypto markets. Probably wasn't something ready for the mainstream just yet, to some degrees, right? It's not to say there isn't manipulation and bad things about traditional markets, but I digress. It takes a long time to get these products out on the market, not just in the sense of technically creating them, but just the overall regulatory approval process. Now, the good news is that the new SEC administration that's coming in the new chairman that's replacing Jay Clayton, is supposedly really pro crypto. And we've also got as well Hester Pierce, who is, you know, the crypto mom. I've gotten to meet her. She's really nice. I actually challenged her a bit on why we needed a bit of regulation versus her. She was kind of like, well, why would we need regulation? Like, what kind of regulation would you want? And it was a really like cool dichotomy that I got to talk to one of the big regulators in the SEC, and they were the ones asking me why I need regulation. I love that. We need more of that in the SEC because you need that balance of different ideas. So I really, really enjoyed getting to meet her. She was really nice. Let's see here. Elena said, first off, thank you very much, Elena, for the donation. She said, thanks for all your work over the years. Who are your favorite crypto content creators, and where can we get decent price range predictions for top new coins at all-time highs? So, Elena, first off, like I said, thank you. And then I think that, you know, you mentioned like who are some great content creators. I mean, there's a lot of great people out there. There's like some people like Quentin Francois, who is the founder of Young and Investing. Along with that as well, we've got, you know, Blockchain Brad, I think, who does some great interviews. I mean, a lot of the other YouTube creators are great too. Box Mining. I like Crypto Daily. I think you need a bit of humor and the overall crypto market. He gives you kind of the quick summaries of things. I'm trying to think what else. Ivan as well. Ivan creates some good in-depth content and stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of great YouTubers and stuff. They have different styles. You might like some things about others. I know some people can't stand the snap that I do, and they think that you know, I'm doing it on purpose. I do it because it's our shtick. Like, people love it. You know, if I stopped doing the snap, people would dislike it. I don't do it on the live streams. You guys let me get away with it. But I know the daily updates. If I didn't do the snap, people would be real upset. So. Aaron asked, first off, Aaron, thank you for the donation. She said, Bitcoin, please go to the moon. Stop going sideways now. Today, oh, Tone Vase. Oh my gosh, that's the best mispronunciation of Tone Vase name that I've seen. Says we're going down to 1K, but Mr. Novogratz says we have bottomed out. Oh my gosh, thank you, Aaron. That brightened my day a bit. David said, thank you, David, as well, for the day. She said, watch you every day. My favorite crypto YouTube channel. Keep me calm and keep things in a proper perspective. Cheers to a great 2021. David, thank you very much. You guys help me keep saying it's fun to have some people to talk to in this market. I'm a very fortunate individual to be in the position where I'm at. Michael said, thanks for all the hard work. Michael, thank you. Thank you for the support as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you for donating. Let's see here. Someone mentioned, Nick, are you going to continue the long drawn out reading of the last number of the year? How I used to go 2016 or no, 2017. It's funny, I started doing it without recognizing it like way back in the day, and people pointed out. I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably should stop doing that. I know some people like it, but I don't want to be too obnoxious. I think if you guys let me get away with doing the snap and stuff, that's my little definitive shtick, you know. It's my thing that people can't stand if I don't do it. So, someone asked me why I'm wearing my jacket. This is a new winter coat that I got. I really needed one badly with how cold it is where I'm at the moment. So I finally got a nice winter coat. It's only $99, so not bad. I'm not really one to buy big designer brands. More money for crypto. All right, guys. So, someone brought up a good question. This is Thinking Crypto, who I've seen on the channel before as well. Asked me 30K by the end of the year. I don't think 30K is in the cards for close of the year. But this really, to be honest, guys, again, I know it seems crazy to think that, for example, and I'll just to give like some kind of visual representation, saying that we're going to 30K by the end of the year would probably be a bit impractical. But, you know, somewhere in this range. Could we see it in like early mid-January? Yeah, we could. Past 2 weeks have taken us from $19,800 to nearly $26,000. Could we see it within the next 2 to 3 weeks? Absolutely. And the thing that's important to note too is that even though we already have way beyond expanded what we should have done, we should have, like, and if we're taking a look at history, right? All right, we should have possibly had maybe a slight break at above, pull back down, and then a continuation of the rally. In this case, we broke right through. And it might already seem like it's overextended, but if you take a look at the log chart, it just means we have to go up a little bit higher. So I would say overall, it would be completely reasonable. But I'd say as well that, as we talked about, with overshot rallies come very brutal corrections. Keep that in mind, guys. And I'll be honest, I don't know if altcoins will fare 100% well on that. As someone who's positioned in altcoins, I'm keeping up with the idea that it could mean that US dollar valuations go down for altcoins, right? Who knows? We'll see. Maybe if that liquidity cycles and we get the altcoin cycle, hey, it'd be great. But if the overall market is really brutal like it was back here, right, where we didn't continue rallying up and we started to see some pretty stark corrections from 13,500 down to 9,000, then we went down to 7,000 and 6,000 and then 3,000. You know, if we have something that's even partially like that, even for a short period of time, you know, to match that parabolic rally we've had that's deviated from the norm, yeah, it's probably going to be a more severe correction. And it could be pulling all the way back down to 20,000, making that support. I would love that personally. More opportunities to buy at a discount, and along with that, gives solidified strength that this is new support. We're never going below 20K. That would be a really great narrative to have. Michael Cass, thank you very much. I appreciate the donation. He said, you've inspired us to invest 90% of our portfolio in the bear market. Thank you. Lots of us here sending you love. Michael, that's so awesome to hear, man. You know, that's the thing that I would say overall. I think that we've done really good with the channel, is we stayed diligent through even some of the worst times in the market. You know, I remember looking at my phone when we were dipping down below. I was in New York City in March, and probably the worst place to be in you know, March and April. In that case, I was visiting just for a short while, and luckily I was safe and didn't get sick. I was watching the markets during the Black Tuesday of crypto, where things were just selling off. It was the worst day for Bitcoin in over 7 years, the worst day of price history for Ethereum ever recorded in history. I was back here in November as well in 2018, going into December, right before I left off for my trip to Europe here in March and April. It hasn't been easy, man. But overall, I know that this market, you know, I didn't think we'd reach here this quick, but I will say that it has definitely been something I think many of us have been looking forward to. We were called crazy, and, well, the chart doesn't lie. Price does not lie. Let's see here. Sharem asked a good question. What do I think about XLM? So XLM is a project, you know, guys, to be honest, XLM, to me personally, is a project that on a fundamental basis, you know, if you were to give me like XRP and XLM, I'd take XLM every day. On an investment thesis, the market cap is much lower, but along with that as well on a fundamentals basis, XLM actually has some really cool, like, you know, if you're talking about DeFi, they've had some really good progress in actually solving and building solutions for remittance markets. As someone who's been building a smart wallet on Ethereum, I've definitely kept an eye on the Stellar network and some of the projects that are building on it. There's a lot of great companies. Putting that aside, though, the reason why XLM is down so much, whether we like it or not, even though there are some very stark differences from XRP, XLM itself is very correlated to XRP, right? That's just what the market does. And whether we like it or not, whether we can analyze that there are some fundamental differences, the market is going to pair things that it finds similar together. So, Colin asked, I just want to make sure to clarify it again, guys. The altcoin video will be on likely coming out January 1st of 2021. I decided to push it back, put a bit of extra quality time into it, and above all, make sure that this is something that is going to rock your socks. It's a good video. It's not too long, not too short. It also talks about my thesis for approaching the altcoin market going into this next cycle. Let's see here. Aaron said, please watch Bitcoin, please go to the moon video on YouTube. Live stream, Nick. It's 40 seconds long. I posted the lyrics for you earlier. Aaron, I'll have to look it up here real quick on the other window real quick. Let's see real quick. Let's see, Bitcoin. Please go to moon. I've heard this song before. I think I don't want to disrupt the music we got because it's definitely a different mood. But no, I in this case, Aaron, I will definitely feature it probably in like a daily update for sure. I've heard this song before. I like the artist who makes the songs. They're funny. Let's see. Oh, is my music? Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, this is Sleeping Pandora. If you guys like the music, go check him out. He's a wonderful content producer, and he just like makes some of the best guitar riffs ever. Tech Boy had asked, let me see real quick, guys. If you move your crypto to another wallet or exchange, does it reset the time of your capital gains time frame stamp if you withdraw soon after they move? So Tech Boy, no. At least in the United States, capital gains is a moment when you either buy or sell. Sorry, it was when you sell in this case. My apologies. So for example, if I bought $10,000 of Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin was, one Bitcoin was $10,000. I bought one Bitcoin and I sell that one Bitcoin at $20,000. That sale, that $10,000 difference, that's the capital gains event. So yeah, that's it simplifies it there. Moving doesn't imply anything. Now, if you do give it to someone else, in this case, as a form of payment, you have to realize capital gains on it, and along with that as well, they would have to take that tax if it was a form of income. Instead of like a charitable donation, in that case, then yes, there would be a taxable event. But I recommend you talk to a tax advisor. Take a look here at the 5-minute chart, guys. Bitcoin's still holding up steadily here, looking like it might be set to go up towards that big even level of 26,000. Already broke 25K. Michael had donated. Thank you again, Michael. He said, if we have a chunk to invest, say $100 in the next 2 weeks, how would you divide between Bitcoin, Ether, and altcoins? We are holding, not trading. Michael, in this market, I've started to realize that favoring a Bitcoin wouldn't be that bad. Again, right now it's a bit overextended. I've always said in this case that again, in the longer cycle, if you're holding, you're going to want to be exposed probably to altcoins, going into the preparing for that next peak. So for me, I would again do like probably 25. In this range, I'll give a bit of flexibility. If you really want to be safe and secure, 50% Bitcoin, 25% ETH, and then 25% alts. I'm more of the kind of high risk type who does the research, wants that higher reward. I do more 25% Bitcoin, 25% ETH, and then 50% altcoins. So, hey Nikolaj, nice to have you here, man. Good to see you on the stream, dude. I hope you've been doing well. We got a lot of, wow, I didn't really know how many people we had on the stream, guys. I think we've got, is it like over 1,000 or something? I'm gonna open up the metrics here. Oh, 1,600. Awesome, guys. It's nice to have you all here. Tim, thank you very much for the donation. Tim had asked here in this case, do you think Coinbase will delist XRP with the uncertainty, the risk of it being a security and needing a securities license to sell it? I unfortunately liquidated my XRP that I purchased at 4 cents. Wow, Tim got it very early. Yeah, so Tim, in this case, to talk about XRP in this case again, I am not a securities expert. I'm not a legal expert by any regard, but I will say that even just the lack of listing of XRP on most exchanges, and even if Coinbase were to just freeze XRP for some time, it is going to continue to drive down XRP's valuation, because the less liquidity you have, the less order books you have open on the market, and you have more people fearful to sell, it's probably going to drag price down. And I think, I haven't just checked here in the past couple of minutes, it looks like we got a bit of a bump up here, but just taking a look at the last week, that's exactly what we're seeing here. Go ahead and turn off drawings just to make it simple, right? The folding over here of price, rolling over past the previous lows. Again, I would, if you're a big fan of XRP in this case, Tim, I would say you can keep your capital on the side. Wait for a discount in this case. If you got out at, if you sold it at a relatively higher price than where it is now, that's good. You avoided some losses, and who knows? Maybe it comes back down to that original point where you entered into XRP. I don't know if it's going to go down that low, but let's see where it's at with Bitstamp. So it's 31 cents. Again, grand scheme of things on USD, it's really not that bad. If anything, actually, just holding kind of on this line of support. I would say oh my god, wait for that single digit kind of token price, right? Like a single cent, 9, maybe 10 cents or something. would be if we break this line, which we kind of did the other day, but again, I'm talking about a closing candle below this line of support. This is XRP's line of defense right here. So lots of good volatility in the market. Unfortunately, you know, we can really only go long in the US. So, or well, I guess with most platforms, there's some DeFi apps that allow you to. John asked about the graph. You know, like I'm a big fan of the graph, guys. We actually work with the graph for Digifox. In this case, it's an awesome protocol. It's fantastic. It's got a great ecosystem developing. I'm not the biggest fan with just buying a token right when it hits the market. That's not me saying that I'm bearish on the graph, but for me personally, I'd like to see this pull back a bit more, especially considering the it's like Filecoin in the case where it has a massive, fully non-diluted supply. But yeah, that's my only take on it, John, in that case. Hopefully that answers it well. Let's see here. I just lost. There was a message I was going to read. Lungo said, thanks a lot for your efforts, Nick. Greatly appreciated. Oh, right back at you, Lungo. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right and stuff. Thank you very much. Yeah, the graph has definitely gotten some movement here. Wow, lots of volume. 26 million tokens. Biggest volume since back here on the 21st. It's 5 days. Steg asked, Nick, do you like Iron Maiden? I don't listen to Iron Maiden much. I know about Iron Maiden as a band, but you know, I tend to listen to Sleeping Pandora is like one of the few artists that I listen to that's kind of this I don't know what kind of genre it'd be. It's very alternative, kind of alternative music. Just helps me when I'm like doing things. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't have any lyrics or anything. Doesn't really distract me. Yavid asked, hey Nick, how do you feel about taking profits on BTC given the supply is so limited? Yeah, but I mean, you can always, there will always be corrections in markets, but you know, again, I think it's, here's the thing that you should be focused on when you guys talk about like taking profits on Bitcoin, is that, you know, for me, I've come to the conclusion in this case that like, I know that there are going to be cycles where if I ride Bitcoin and altcoins separately, I can really outpace just holding Bitcoin. All right, there will be, it hasn't happened yet, to be fair with you guys, as I've already mentioned, but as it gets through there in that case, in the last cycle I did it, in this cycle I have pretty strong assumptions, not even day trading, swing trading in this case, over multiple months and weeks, that I'll be able to outpace Bitcoin in this case. The one penalty that you have to keep in mind if you don't just hold your Bitcoin long term is that you're going to be in the United States paying short-term capital gains tax versus long-term capital gains tax, which usually it varies, but it will go from something like 10 to 15% on a federal level to 30%. So basically double. And this is a penalty that you're going to have to consider if you want to do day trading or short-term trading within a year, trading within a shorter than a year time frame. So. Aaron, yeah, that's funny. Let's see. Thank you very much for the donation, Nicholas. Let's see here. A lot of people are asking me about 1inch. Guys, I think 1inch is an interesting protocol. You know, it's a great aggregator. You know, personally for me and stuff, I always like to see how these DeFi tokens fare in the sense of like, you know, it's more about the overall trend of the market, but I think 1inch is an interesting project. I have to look more into their token economics. I know that they announced it the other day, but I haven't had the time to look at it. Aaron, thank you very much for the donation. Aaron said, Nick, what are your thoughts on Theta? It's been crushing, even with most altcoins dumping, and Coinbase is included, and it's possible coins to be listed. Will you research and give your opinions on Theta? Thanks and appreciate your insights. Yeah, Aaron, I think this is a great question. Theta is a really interesting project on a fundamental basis. I mean, their platform works. They've got a community around it. They've got content creators. All these like decentralized live streaming platforms or content platforms, to me, seem really interesting in the long run. I just don't know about like Theta as a token. I haven't. You know, we'll take a look real quick. Theta BTC. Theta's been picking up actually here over the last couple of days. It's actually been doing pretty well. Very big deviation from the standard altcoin market here compared to Bitcoin. So yeah, I'll see what happens here. I wanna do some more research on the platform. I've talked to some of the team before. You know, we did a test live stream and an interview for Digifox on there as they're doing their new video on demand, similar to YouTube. So this is a good question from Nicholas. Again, thank you for the donation, Nicholas. Nicholas asked, how to set stop losses. My stop losses keep getting triggered and then the price just jumps back up. So I'm actually going to be very, very different from most people, you guys. And I've talked about how to set stop losses on the channel before multiple times and how it can be a great trading tool. The problem is that stop losses can also be a detriment for a lot of people who don't know how to use them right. So here's the thing, right? First off, I always advise to people, again, I can't give, this isn't technical, legal, financial advice, but if you want to know how I trade, I do not day trade. I do not day trade. It's very, very rare. Like maybe with like a small portion of my portfolio, or for example, I get into a position one day and somehow it rockets off into the sky and doubles or something, does something crazy. And of course you feel the need to take profit or take some profit off the table, right? And realize some of those gains. But when it comes to trading, I don't day trade much. And because of that, I don't really feel the need to use stop losses. There just really isn't that much. The only reason people use stop losses is when you're trading very small time frames. And stop losses are only really a great tool if you're buying at a really good discount in the market. If you're buying on the lower end, like when things are oversold, you're testing a line of support, and then you maybe set one that's like a good degree lower so you can protect yourself from taking too big of a hit if it keeps driving down. But the thing is that whether you're on derivatives platforms, whether you're on traditional exchanges, people go stop hunting. That's a real thing that can happen. And the biggest thing overall is you do not want to set your stops too tight. I really feel in this case, if you're like me and you're swing trading, I generally don't use stop losses that much. And I know that some people are going to say, oh, Nick's a terrible trader then. Well, it might be that we're looking at very different time frames. My risk to reward profile is not trying to make a 5% gain and take a considerable 1% loss. No, mine is a potential 20% loss over the next 6 to 12 months and a potential 100% gain. Same exact ratio there in percentages. Very, very different time frame and profit focus, and also potential loss. And in that case, you're much less likely to trigger a 20% stop loss than you are a 1% stop loss in this very narrow time frame. And that's why I don't like day trading. Your expansion of time frame horizons, this is why some of the richest people in the world are either hedge fund managers who make 6 to 12 month time frame positions, or people like Warren Buffett who focus long term. They do not risk liquidation due to excessive margin. They don't risk liquidation in the sense of or per se a closing of their position due to setting really tight stops. So Nicholas, I hope that answers your question. I was very fully loaded. I think in that case I gave probably a big rant there. Anyways. Michael asked as well, and thank you again, Michael. You guys have been really nice to the donations. What are your guesses for when the altcoin cycle might begin? Ideas for how long it might last? What do you think the percentage gains might be averaged out? Man, this is a tough question because here's the one thing too, guys, to be fair. Like overall in altcoins, what's really nice is that I still technically, since back here in September, have outpaced Bitcoin quite nicely because I've taken profits, I've run the cycles and stuff, as I've shared with you guys here on the channel. But all on average here in this case, I think altcoins would rebound once we solidify support at this range. It looks like we're going here, guys, which is another percentage or so. But I wouldn't say to be too greedy, because if it doesn't test there exactly at that support range, I bet a lot of people are watching at 28% market dominance for altcoins. It might pop a bit earlier, and as we saw here over the last hour, this might start charting up, and you might miss an opportunity at a discount. This is the general lower range, though. All right, this range down here is the discount range. When you get up here, right, looking at the previous you can just kind of do this with a general line of resistance, right? This line here should be kind of used as a gauge for, hey, when dominance is charting up, this is where things are getting overextended. Now, you'd asked me in this case here, Michael, about, you know, what kind of percentage gains we could see. It really depends if you're mainly holding small caps, mid caps, large caps, the trending sectors like DeFi, enterprise blockchain, oracles. If you're holding if you check all those boxes, holding the trending sectors, and you hold some small and mid caps with your larger cap positions, maybe like Ethereum, we could do phenomenally well, because you're going from 28% dominance here to 48% dominance. It's not a full doubling of altcoin markets, but it's a pretty surefire big return overall. So again, I can't give any precise percentages. No one could really guess that. But there will be many plays if we go from here to here sometime within May or June, right? 6 month, maybe 6 month cycle for altcoins. That would be a market where you could see a lot of, like, you know, sort of some of the small mid caps, you could see some 10x moves in that case. So, and probably compared to Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's climbing up, probably something like 3 or 5x moves, like we saw back during the summer. We saw that many times back here, going from this range to this range. Hugo, that hits me in the heart right there. The chat here reminds me of your chat in late 2017. Yeah, it's good times. I think we're about to embark on even better times as well, guys. Because we got even more names and faces here. I think, you know, and we're in the early stages here, so we'll have even more coming in. I want to see here. How's the live stream looking, guys? The quality's still good. Nice to see. Oh, it's so cool. They have some new charts here, so I can see like how the live stream audience has grown over time. Nice to see. We have so many people here concurrently viewing. Awesome, guys. All right, let me take a quick sip here. You guys sponsor my worst habit, and that's rambling. How dare you? you all make me ramble all day long. It's pure madness. I don't know why you would listen to me. We got Billy as well, who's in he's in New Zealand. Awesome, Billy. And it's Sunday for him. That's pretty cool. I hope everyone is well, for those of you who do celebrate, and I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. And overall, I hope everyone's had a happy holidays and stuff. You know, I think it's definitely a time of the year where hopefully if you could get together with some family and eat some good food, it's definitely the time for it. It's been a tough year overall for, I think, a lot of us. 2 for 1 said, release the Rambler. BJ, I said, Nick, absolutely loved your podcast with Kurosh. Can never get tired of the rambling. Oh man, he's fantastic, man. I think he's another YouTuber I would highly recommend. I had a great time on his podcast. I know he's gonna be massive in this next cycle. Nicholas asked, should we expect a post-Christmas sell-off? I don't think it's because of Christmas, but yeah, we could definitely, as we get up to something like 30K, you know, if this continues to chart at 30K, you're gonna see a pretty stark correction, I think, overall once we hit that. Some pretty intense profit taking. Alrighty, guys. I think we'll do a couple more questions here, because I think we went through the majority of the content we wanted to talk about today, and we've answered some good questions. Vincent, I'm happy to hear you like the background music. Again, I think I did it pretty good when we used to listen to the Midnight and stuff, but if you guys haven't already, check out Sleeping Pandora. It's a fantastic artist. Just dropped a really good new song that I had at the beginning of this mix. Resin Bath, I absolutely love his style. It's very, very trippy, but it's just, to me, it's very like calming and relaxing. It makes me kind of get in my creative element overall. Barb brought up a great point here. We need to do our Christmas giveaway. I meant to do a video yesterday, guys, but as I mentioned a bit earlier, I've been a bit like scattered between preparing a few things and stuff, and then also the holidays. So we will be doing probably in tomorrow's daily update or on Monday, we'll be doing the Christmas giveaway for those of you who watched Quentin and I's interview back a little while ago. Michael, thank you again. Michael said, you led the way in 2018 when others were running to the hills. Your humility and centeredness makes you the absolutely best, most trusted younger voice on YouTube. Ramble on, my friend. Y'all are going to make me blush. No, thank you, Michael. I mean, seriously, you guys, I think, you know, it's funny. I was talking to someone, you know, who's just starting out their YouTube channel recently. I actually talked to probably about 2 or 3. And the thing that, like, you know, I can see when I meet someone who's like genuine, who cares about what they're doing and helping others, and it's usually, you know, the people who are just getting started who really care about the space, and you can just tell that they kind of have that intention of like doing good for others. And I told them, they're like Nick, like I gotta be honest and ask you, like, how'd you grow your channel? And the funny thing is that all these years, I think the most important thing that I've tried to maintain and do my best to maintain as an individual, because it's really, you know, at the end of the day, when it comes to the content side of things, it's just me. There's no team. It's just me sitting here at my computer. I know it's not a fancy technical setup, but you know, the biggest thing that I drilled home is that I wanted to maintain honesty and transparency. And that's talking about when I have my victories, but also when I have my losses, when I learn from my mistakes. And I think people can probably tell that if you go back to my content, it's all still up there in 2017 and 2018. You'll probably see how I probably evolved a bit as a person. And I know many of you out there have kind of joined me on that journey, which is really exciting. That to me is really what matters, is seeing that community grow with you. So thank you guys for all these years and stuff. And I'm going to continue to keep creating content as much as I can, until I just can't stand YouTube anymore, or crypto for that matter. So, but I hope you guys see that in that case. I've had many people, like, I think a great example is like when I was talking, some people had recommended, oh, Nick, you need to get like a green screen, or you need to upgrade your studio. And I used to have a bed, my bedroom at the time where I was filming, where I had my like a bed behind me. And I was like, guys, should I get a green screen? Should I make like a studio? And they were like, no, like, Nick, we love your like your folded bed in the background, like everything's made nice, but it shows you're just like, you're human. So I always appreciated that. Alrighty, well, I'll go ahead and do one quick bit of TA here. You know, the one big hope that's going on in the altcoin market right now, I mean, we just look at Theta that's doing well, but like really for the larger cryptocurrencies here, take a look at Litecoin, setting multiple higher lows and higher highs. And let's just go ahead and take a step back to that weekly chart. I'm going to turn off my drawings here. Would you be bullish or bearish on this, guys? I'll be honest. The one thing I'm thinking about stacking up good outside of Bitcoin is Litecoin. Unfortunately, we don't have it in Digifox just yet, but we could possibly get it very, very soon. So that's one thing we're excited about. But above all, I'd say Litecoin's chart here looks very nice, because since back here in May of 2020, you would have moved exactly in line with Bitcoin. Now we're starting to chart those higher lows and higher highs, right at the range where previously, historically speaking, we see significant breakouts in Litecoin. Very, very interested in this here. You just take a look at the 3-day chart, right? Turn on drawings. Entry, exit zone. Litecoin has done a 3x run here against Bitcoin multiple times. The best. This is against Bitcoin here, not USD. Right. If we take a look at the Litecoin USD chart, right, turn off our drawings here. I think once we get above this price range here, 140, well, maybe for example we get a cup and handle here, right? We come up. Now I can even do a drawing here. You have the cup and price. Breakdown, breakout. Litecoin could be one of the major players here that actually sparks the altcoin cycle, which would be really interesting. Sorry for the chart there, it was a bit confusing because you have to put it on logarithmic. But we really kicked off the breakout here back in November. So, anyways, guys, as a summary and closing to my points I mentioned earlier, if you join the live stream later, I recommend you guys watch those earlier portions here. I know we just tapped 26,000, which is pretty exciting, or right below it. The critical thing to keep in mind is that in this cycle, what we've realized is that any kind of models that there are out there are probably not going to help us in predicting where Bitcoin's going to go in the next couple of weeks, next few months. what's probably most critical to keep in mind here is that, above all, we've seen back in 2019 and the early phases of this cycle exiting the previous bear market, and here in 2020, that the cycles themselves are very, very emotional. They're very, very quick. We can see like the one back here in 2019 and here in 2020 as we've broken way beyond the all-time highs. I don't think any of us really expected this, to be fair. If we're being honest, guys, maybe there were some of you out there with those convictions. I can say it myself. This is far beyond what I thought was going to be possible. And all before the end of 2020. Pretty incredible stuff, guys. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. I will, I'll leave you all here. I think we had one more donation. That's very nice from Cookie Talks in this case, or I might be mispronouncing it. He said, for the honesty and transparency. Thank you very much, my friend, for the donation. I appreciate all the support you guys have shown, the kind words. Yeah, I mean, let's just see what happens here over the next coming weeks into the close of the year. It'll be really exciting to see if in early mid-January 30,000 might become a reality. It might, as some of you were saying in the comments, it might be something we see here in the next few days. Again, on the normal chart, it looks crazy. I mean, this already looks crazy as is. Logarithmic just needs to go here. Could happen. I'll leave you all with that thought. If you haven't already, guys, I want to ask of a few quick things. If you could drop a like, hit the subscribe and bell icon if you haven't already. I think many of you probably already have. And along with that as well, if you want to support me, check out Digifox. If you're looking to earn interest on your crypto assets, whether it's Bitcoin or altcoins, consider downloading Digifox, seeing what kind of cryptocurrencies you can earn interest through our Celsius integration or Compound. And also, if you're looking to make some swaps on tokens, you can register for a Digifox account as well. So that's it for today's video, guys. I appreciate you all joining me for the live stream, and I'll see you all in the next video. Happy holidays. Take care. Eat as much good food as you can without putting yourself at risk. And I'll see you all in the next video or live stream. Take care, everyone. And check out Sleeping Pandora on YouTube. Tell them Data Dash sent you.